Holy shit. So I knew we were getting some news regarding Stewart-Haas Racing for the past couple of weeks, and that a charter or two could be up for sale. But I did not expect this. Like, this is huge. Like, this is the equivalent of a nuke being dropped on the entire silly season landscape. Stewart-Haas Racing is shutting down at the end of the season. Tony Stewart and Gene Haas, they made the decision on just Tuesday afternoon that they would no longer continue operations past 2024. And first of all, I'm just going to say this. I did not have this on my silly season bingo card. I had them downsizing by selling a charter and becoming a 3-car team. Maybe 2 charters, but not fucking shutting down. So now, instead of a charter or 2 being sold, all 4 of their charters are available. And we'll get into that in a bit. But first of all, I just want to thank Stewart-Haas Racing for all they did to the sport of NASCAR. Like Furniture Row Racing, and this is something that many people forget, but Stewart-Haas Racing, they started out as a small Hendrick satellite team back in the early 2000s that they slowly started expanding into its own team, getting their own identity. It wasn't until 2009 that they finally showed what they were capable of, though, with the arrivals of Stewart and Ryan Newman. They won a title in the most unlikely and epic of ways possible. And you know what I'm talking about. If you watched that 2011 title battle, if not, let me tell you, you missed out. You just had to be there. And then, just as Tony Stewart started slowing down, Kevin Harvick came in and they won another title. And then in the second half of the 2010s, they switched to Ford, effectively gaining independence from Hendrick. And for a split second, they looked like they were the best team in NASCAR. Okay, scratch that. They didn't look like. They were the best team in NASCAR. That 2018 season was their high point, with all 4 of their drivers making it to round of 8. They were better than Hendrick that season, better than Joe Gibbs Racing, better than Penske. And even if their downfall was one that will be studied for generations, they brought us a lot of iconic moments. Obviously, Tony Stewart's 2011 title run is at the top of that list. But also, Kurt Busch, 2017 Daytona 500 win. Cole Custer's stone cold celebration after winning the Xfinity title last year. And of course, Kevin Harvick's 2014 title on his first year with the team. So regardless of how hard they fell or how abrupt this announcement has come, the memories will stay, as they have forever left their mark in NASCAR history. They are champions. They are Daytona 500 winners. They left their mark. There's no debate on that. But this is where things get wild, because with Stewart-Haas Racing shutting down, we have 4 charters up for grabs. And we don't have to speculate much on which teams will potentially buy those, because we already have our buyers. Trackhouse, 2311, and Front Row Motorsports, they will each purchase a charter. Important to mention, all 3 teams are 2-car operations, so they will essentially expand to 3 cars now. Obviously, Trackhouse, they will use their charter for Project 91 to go full-time with Zane Smith, because if you recall from my last silly season video, I predicted this. Stewart-Haas Racing, they will be selling a charter, and Trackhouse would buy it for Zane Smith to continue racing in the Cup Series after being released from Spire. Obviously, I didn't expect SHR to shut down completely, but at least Trackhouse will secure one of their charters, so I was right on that front. As for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, this will get very interesting, especially since with SHR shutting down, Chase Briscoe, Noah Gragson, Cole Custer, Josh Berry, Riley Herbst, Ryan Preece, their entire roster of drivers between Cup and Xfinity, they will be free agents, which will give those teams plenty of options when it comes to, which driver to sign. This silly season may lack in star power and heavy hitters, but come on. You do not see established 4-car Cup Series teams shutting down out of nowhere nowadays, so this is going to get wild with all of this charter movement and all of this driver movement. We have 4 charters up for grabs. Well, technically only one because 3 of them have already been secured. But 4 charters are going to be moved and 6 drivers are going to be free agents. So this is going to be wild. As for who will get the 4th and final charter, that's still up in the air, but we already have a couple of teams interested. There's some reports that Richard Childress Racing has been interested in the charter for Austin Hill to go full-time in the 33 car, of course. Or at the very least, that's what will happen if they secure that charter. RFK Racing, Brad Keselowski has been interested in that charter as well for their 60 car. Speculation is that Justin Haley will be the driver, but only if RFK manages to secure the charter. Remember, Justin Haley right now is with Rick Ware Racing, but they have an alliance. Rick Ware has an alliance with RFK Racing, so if RFK manages to secure that charter for their 60 car, they will sign Justin Haley. If not, I think he will stay at Rick Ware Racing. I've also seen Legacy Motor Club. Read some reports that Legacy Motor Club is interested in that charter. Honestly, that's a bit more of a reach. But I think it will be for Corey Heim. Again, this only makes sense if Martin Truex Jr. decides to commit long term with Joe Gibbs Racing, as Truex staying will keep John Hunter Nemechek in the 42, and Corey Heim will not have a ride. But again, considering how good Corey Heim is doing right now in the Truck Series, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to buy high on the guy and secure him a Cup ride as soon as possible. And again, assuming Martin Truex Jr. doesn't go anywhere and decides to stay for at least one more year, and if Sam Hunt Racing cannot get Corey Heim in their Xfinity program, then yeah, maybe Legacy Motor Club decides to buy a charter from SHR and expand to a 3-car operation just for Corey Heim to be there. So yeah, there are a couple of teams interested. It's still up in the air though who's gonna get that final charter. But one thing we know is for certain: it will not be Dale Earnhardt Jr. He already said it himself. Dale Jr. is not interested in moving JRM to the Cup Series. Those rumors that Tony Stewart is saving the 4th charter for Dale Jr., those are false. Those are false rumors. Let's talk about the drivers, though, because like I said a bit earlier, we have 6 drivers that are going to enter this offseason as free agents. And let's start with the most obvious one. Chase Briscoe, he is 100% staying with Ford. They have made it clear countless times that Briscoe is one of, if not their top priority when it comes to their driver roster. I mean, he is one of the first drivers that came through the Ford driver development program back when it was launched in 2016, 2017. So obviously Ford will want to keep him in-house. The easy landing spot for him will be the 21 at Wood Brothers. And honestly, this makes too much sense because it's about time they get rid of Harrison Burton. And with Briscoe available and Ford, calling the shots, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Now the question is, where will Harrison Burton go from here? And in my opinion, the only way he stays in the Cup Series, and again, I touched upon this in my previous silly season video. But the only way Harrison Burton stays in the Cup Series is if Front Row Motorsports picks him up to either replace McDowell in the 34 or to drive their 3rd car. Considering Harrison Burton is pretty close friends with Todd Gilliland, and since it looks like Gilliland will be Front Row Motorsports' #1 guy, I could see it happening. Maybe Todd Gilliland decides to put in a good word for his friend, and Front Row Motorsports decides to get Harrison Burton a chance. But if Front Row Motorsports doesn't sign him, he is going to go back to Xfinity. And speaking of Xfinity, because with Stewart-Haas Racing shutting down, there will be no more competitive Ford teams on the field. The only competitive Ford team after Stewart-Haas Racing shuts down will be RSS Racing. or rather the 39 car at RSS Racing, Ryan Sieg. But he is a top 12, top 15 guy at best. So after Stewart-Haas Racing shuts down, the only 4 teams left are going to be RSS Racing, which their only competitive guy is Ryan Sieg, and Hailie Deegan. Yeah, that's not good. So Ford is not in a good situation when it comes to Xfinity, unless, and hear me out on this one, Roger Penske, for whatever reason, decides to keep Harrison Burton around because of, sponsorship money, and he brings back the 22 Xfinity car for him to run full time after Ford throws some big money at Roger to make the deal happen. That's kind of a reach, yes, but considering that Harrison Burton is represented by Kevin Harvick's management firm, and also considering that his father, Jeff Burton, played a huge role in him getting a Cup ride in the first place, it's not that far-fetched as you think. Again, I would imagine Ford would be desperate to have a serious presence in Xfinity. I mean, you don't want to put all of your eggs on the Ryan Sieg and Hailie Deegan basket. And as of right now, I don't see that many teams switching over to Ford as far as the Xfinity series goes. So they could just, call Penske and have him bring back the 22 car for Harrison Burton. Again, it's kind of a reach, but if Harrison Burton, and again, this only works if Roger Penske decides to keep Harrison Burton even after he is released from the 21. Because remember, that 21 car, it may be Wood Brothers, but Roger Penske basically calls the shots on who the driver is, on who's the driver. Like, it's basically their 4th car. It's basically an unofficial 4th car at Penske. So, it's pretty possible that he keeps Harrison Burton even after he's not in the 21. If only just for Harrison Burton to be like Ford's main guy in Xfinity, I could see that happening. So the next driver on the list is Noah Gragson, and he is a bit of a wild card because a lot of teams are interested in him after seeing what he has done on that 10 car. Like, he's literally been the only positive of Stewart-Haas Racing this season has been his performance in that 10 car, making himself look like a weekly top 20 contender. I could see him landing at either Colleague Racing or even 2311. RCR has been thrown around as a teammate to Kyle Busch, but that's a bit of a reach considering how much they love Austin Hill. And if they secure that charter, this is also assuming that RCR manages to secure that charter and expand to a 3-car operation. But we all know, if RCR expands to a 3-car operation, it's going to be for Austin Hill. It's not going to be Gragson. Gragson is not part of their plans. Josh Berry, he's kind of in the same boat in that I could also envision him landing a Colleague. Not 2311 though. I could see him landing at Front Row Motorsports though, either in the 34 or on the 3rd car. If none of those, then it's back to Xfinity for him. Either with Colleague. If Josh Berry lands with Colleague, I could see him going either way, Cup or Xfinity. Or he could just go back to Junior Motorsports and become like an Xfinity lifer, kind of like Justin Allgaier has been there. I don't know how much Dale Jr. will welcome him back. I don't know if Dale Jr. will welcome him back. I don't know if there's going to be a ride available. Because, Junior's in already a bit of a tight spot. With that 9 car. Obviously, Brandon Jones, it looks like he's not going to be on that 9 car anymore. And they got Raja Karuth and Carson Kavapol moving up. So I don't know where Josh Berry will fit into all of that if he decides to return to Junior Motorsports. So that's a bit of a stretch. But to me, it looks like Colleague Racing will be the only landing spot I can see, either Colleague or Front Row Motorsports. Ryan Preece, he's in a bit of a tough spot, honestly. The only suitable landing spot I envision for him is Front Row Motorsports. I would also say Rickware Racing, but That's only if RFK secures that charter from SHR and they sign Justin Haley to drive the 60 car. If that happens, then yeah, Ryan Preece will go to Rick Racing. If he doesn't, then he better hope he gets signed by Front Row Motorsports, because if none of that happens, I don't think he's racing in the Cup Series. And as a matter of fact, I don't even know where he will land at all, or if he will even be full-time in any of the top 3 series. I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that one, but as of right now, the best case scenario I can see is a part-time ride in either Cup or Xfinity. But again, just like Harrison Burton, Ryan Preece is represented by Kevin Harvick's management firm, so they're going to cook something. I'm pretty sure they will cook something. Harvick is a smart guy when it comes to managing their clients and stuff, so I wouldn't be that worried if I was Ryan Preece. We also have Cole Custer and Riley Herbst available. Their 2 Xfinity drivers are also free agents. They're going to be big players in the Xfinity Series garage for sure, with some Cup Series offers thrown in between. Of the 2, Cole Custer will obviously be the guy that teams will be the most interested on, because Xfinity Series champion. Again, Front Row Motorsports is an option, either in the 34 or under 3rd car, you get the gist. Although I could also see Rick Racing offering him a ride, even if it's on a part-time capacity. And this is regardless of what happens with Justin Haley. I could see either Cole Custer going full-time if Justin Haley manages to get on the 60 car with RFK's new 3rd charter. If that doesn't happen, then I could see him being part of that driver rotation with Cas Grala on the 2nd Rick Racing car, the 15. But either way, I'm pretty sure Cole Custer is safe. Either in Cup or Xfinity. But I do think he's gonna get some Cup rides. I think he's gonna get some serious Cup considerations after what he has done in Xfinity. As for Riley Herbst, he will be a complete wild card in the Xfinity Series, in the sense that I could see multiple teams interested in him, if only for the sponsorship money that he brings more than anything. But make no mistake, Riley Herbst has grown into a fairly decent driver when he's on competitive equipment. At this point, in my opinion, he's better than Brandon Jones. Although, like Cole Custer, I could also see him landing a part-time Cup ride at Rick Racing. But other than that, I think Riley Herbst is going to stay in Xfinity, and he's going to land. Some team is going to pick him up. If only for having him around for sponsorship dollars. But I think he's going to stay in Xfinity. I don't know with which team it's going to be, but I think he will stay in Xfinity. But yeah, so many options, so many decisions, so much movement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot recall having seen a silly season so busy as this one in recent memory. It's just so sad that this excitement comes at the expense of one of NASCAR's most successful teams of the last decade shutting down. And it's pretty sad too, considering that they had just rebranded and it seemed like everyone was all in on the long haul for this new era, including their own drivers. With the whole marketing campaign that they did for Josh Berry replacing Kevin Harvick with the hashtag forward. And Kevin Harvick, he said it best on his podcast. They went from forever to forward to for sale in just 6 months. And it's pretty funny that he says that, because looking back at his tenure with SHR, it seemed like Harvick himself was almost the sole reason that team didn't fold much sooner, because by 2021 they were starting to run out of gas to the point that Harvick was almost always the only guy showing up. And knowing what we know today and how quickly SHR made the decision to shut down, it's pretty clear to me if Kevin Harvick never joined SHR in 2014, they would not have lasted as long as they did. For all we know, they could have folded after 2016 when Tony Stewart retired. But the fact that they shut down not even half a season after Harvick retired, it makes it all the more apparent today. And it really shows just how great of a driver Kevin Harvick was. The fact that Harvick, he not only carried Stewart-Haas Racing, but he was the sole reason they did not close operations any sooner. And then because the moment Harvick retired, they could not even survive 6 months without Kevin Harvick. The team just shut down. They went from forever to forward to for sale. I still cannot keep that Kevin Harvick quote off my head. But yeah, it's a pretty exciting time for silly season, but a pretty sad time if you are a Stewart-Haas Racing fan.